Okay. Go ahead and get started here. Well, we have 7 people. I guess I'll wait a few more minutes for people to show up, and then we'll get started with the questions. Yeah, I was planning on streaming to YouTube and Twitch as well, but I was busy with other things, and I haven't gotten around to that yet. But hopefully the next stream will also be on YouTube and Twitch. Alright, I think it's time to get started. So, like last time, I'll start off with a little update on what everyone is waiting for the most, which is accounts and 50v50. So, we do have multiple people working on accounts at this point, and we've made some good progress on the back end. The actual basics of like signing in and out, creating accounts, that's all mostly in place, although there is no actual interface for it yet. And in terms of 50v50, as I've said before, we're currently working on a mode which will act as sort of a stepping stone to 50v50. It'll have a lot of the same guns and stuff, and maybe some of the perks, I'm not sure. And yeah, that's coming along well as well. Okay, someone is asking in the chat, is this where we ask questions for Q&A? And yeah, I am monitoring the event stage chat here if anyone does want to ask questions. I do have a list of questions here with prepared responses, and once I'm through those, I will answer some more questions from the audience. But yeah, my response might not be as good because it'll be unscripted, essentially. Okay, so our first question comes from Natural Zaid. What are your future plans regarding the game, since it's quite dead after Survev got active? So I really want to focus on adding new and innovative, unique content and branching off of our Surviv roots. So we might be like heavily inspired by Surviv, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to be, different and add our own sort of unique content. And we do have a lot of stuff planned, including stuff that was never seen in Surviv, like, for example, vehicles. So there aren't going to be vehicles in normal mode. It's going to be in a dedicated mode with a much larger map and a lot of open space. I'm not going to give too much away about it, but if we do end up making a vehicle system, we're going to make absolutely sure that it is essentially the best vehicle system out of any .io game and really sort of sets us apart. Okay, and I'm going to try to go through the questions a little bit faster than I did in the last one, where I would have maybe a couple minutes between questions. So our next question comes from Death Trap Engineer. what are the plans to actually gain players and not lose them? So there are a few things coming up here that I think will help boost our player counts. First of all, I finally finished the long-awaited privacy policy, so we can finally release mobile apps for iOS and Android. Those are coming soon, and those should hopefully help to boost our player counts. And we've thought about adding bots to some of the servers with extremely low player counts, like Oceania. And this would be to sort of increase player engagement, not to fake player counts or anything like that. If we did add bots, it wouldn't change the actual player count that was displayed. That would still show the actual number of human players and not bots. And another thing that we've considered is paying people on platforms like TikTok or Instagram to make videos promoting the game. We did do a Google Ads campaign a while back. That wasn't particularly successful, but hopefully some more like social media oriented marketing will help us out more than that did. Yeah, I might actually have to slow down here a little bit because, let's see, it's only been 8 minutes. I've gone through, okay, 2 questions so far. I think it'll be fine. Okay. So our next question comes from 1092384. When is the C4 being removed? So this is something that we've thought about for a while, and it's probably going to be removed sometime in the next few updates. We've had a few suggestions from the community for replacements, one of them being the M4 slam grenade, which would explode when it was shot at or damaged by an explosion. So that I think would be pretty cool. And there was also the satchel charge, which would behave sort of similar to the C4, except it would have a much larger damage radius, and it would take much longer to activate, like 8 seconds, and there would be like a lot of warning in advance, so you would know if it was going to blow up. Okay, and next question from TJCJ. What are your plans for the near future regarding the game and the dev team themselves? Since the whole incident that happened, what are the things that are on the top of your priority list that need to be released, changed, restructured as soon as possible? So, for those of you who aren't aware, like a couple weeks ago now, we had this incident where a number of former contributors to the game essentially came forward with this document of complaints against the admin team, and basically they demanded that I step down as the project leader and transfer ownership to one of the contributors. Now, they did, most of the complaints that they made were actually valid, and we're taking them into consideration, but unfortunately the demands that they made were just not acceptable, so we were forced to remove those people from the team, which is really unfortunate. And it's been harder without them. But we have already addressed a lot of the complaints that they made in their document. We have added a privacy policy, we've released financial reports, we've moved development to a separate server, and we're testing updates more carefully before releasing them. And I'm also working on a comprehensive code of conduct to ensure that the sort of incidents that were sort of complained about in the document won't happen again. Alright, I see some people here are asking questions in the chat, and I'll get to those once I'm through all the ones that I have responses prepared for. And yeah, I apologize in advance if my responses to those are not as coherent, because I don't have anything prepared. So our next question from Not LD for Real: when is Suroi version 1.0.0 finally going to release? So, in addition to everything that we have on the roadmap, things like accounts and 50v50, we also have plans to overhaul a number of older structures in the game, like the refinery, which haven't been updated in a while, and the layout is kind of not the best. And I can't really call the game finished until it's really polished and free of any major bugs, which of course at this point it isn't exactly, and it's going to be a while before I would really consider it done. And unfortunately I don't really have an estimate for when that would be. There's just so much to do, and it's more difficult than you would think to estimate these things accurately. It always takes longer than you'd think it would. Okay, next question from Moldy Toes 52. Will you ever retire working on Suroi or step down if there's no players? What is your plan to attract more players to this game since the lobbies are quite dead? Okay, well, I already answered the latter question, but as for the former, I really enjoy working on Suroi, and even if it didn't have any players, I would probably still work on it just because I find it fun. And yeah, that's about all I have to say about that. I will continue to work on the game as long as I have enough time and I still, feel like it. Which is to say that it's gonna keep seeing updates basically indefinitely. There isn't really a point at which I would say that the game is done. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, there's the release of 1.0, at which point you could call the game finished in that it's a finished product, a complete thing, but that doesn't mean that we can't add more content, and we will. Okay, so we're getting to the end of the questions that I have responses prepared for. Our next question, also from Not LD for Real: when is the next hotfix or update? So I have one planned for next week. And if you want to get an idea of what's going to be in it and approximately when it'll release, you can look at the roadmap channel on the Discord server. Okay, and the last of the prepared questions from Sapphire. Will there be new kinds of community events that have more community interaction? So this is something that I've thought about for a while. Like some sort of weekly event could be cool, where I would stream. And well, with the Q&A events that I've done, the focus has obviously been on answering questions while I am playing the game in the background. But if I was to do these weekly events, the focus would be, more on the game itself. But I might still answer some questions, from the chat if people had any. But I do want to keep doing the monthly Q&As. I think that's a good thing to do. And I might think about some more, like, weekly events. For example, like, massively boosting airdrop rates, or something along those lines. Something to make the game a little more interesting. Just like a temporary thing. And yeah, again, that is the end of the questions that I have responses prepared for. So I guess I'll start going through some of the questions that I got here in the event stage chat. Okay, so XBC asks, do you plan on adding any grenade launchers or anything like that? So I don't want to give too much away, but we do have some grenade launchers planned, and one of them might be in 50v50, so that should be fun. Alright, well, I guess that's the only question really that I see in the event stage chat. Okay, there are a couple here in the thread from earlier. So another one from Sapphire. How do you feel about the community? Now this is a kind of broad question. I would say that overall the community has been extremely supportive and just positive overall. I mean, we've gotten over $1,500 in donations from you guys, which is just amazing. If you told me when I started this project that I'd be getting that much, I might not believe you. It's really pretty incredible. So yes, I sincerely thank everyone who has contributed their hard-earned cash to support the game, and just anyone who's interacted with it in any way, anyone who plays it. Okay, and our next question from Happy One Speed. Who is the primary suggestions manager now? So here's the thing, we don't really have one. I think if I was to make a list of like all of our failings, like things that I regret the most that I've done in my management of this game, one of them would probably be how I've handled bug reports and suggestions. I mean, if I'm honest, I rarely look at them myself. There are a number of developers and artists who do look at them, but myself I rarely do. So my plan going forward is going to be to check bug reports and suggestions every day. So if anyone has any sort of suggestions, ideas for the game, or bugs that they want to report, or like anything that was previously mentioned that I might not have seen, then go ahead and either post it, or if it's something that already exists, just like send a message in the thread to bump it up to the top so that I will see it sooner. I'll probably go through like maybe the last week's worth of bug reports and suggestions after this stream. Okay, let's see here. Okay, a few more questions. Sam here is asking about non-explosive throwables. So yeah, this is something that she actually has been experimenting with, like throwing knives, and it's something we've considered actually for 50v50. And yeah, I think like throwing knives definitely could be cool, and it's something we should play around with. And a question from 19. Would you be willing to remove the infection from infection game mode? So yeah, we pulled infection from the mode rotation because there were a number of issues with balancing and things along those lines that we need to work out. And one of those was the infection mechanic, which people generally found annoying and sort of detrimental. So we've been thinking about how it could be improved. We're planning to do essentially a complete rework of the infection mechanic. So it's not going to be removed, but it's going to be completely different when infection comes back. Okay, and a question from TJCJ. How is stuff regarding dev management going? By that I mean, how well are people informed about what feature is done and what is yet to be developed? So we have a couple of different mechanisms for that. We have this internal to-do channel, which is a forum channel, and each post is a thing to be done, essentially. And then we also have a pinned post with an internal roadmap, which is kind of similar to the one that you see in the public roadmap channel, but it's more detailed and contains more technical information. So that's what we have in terms of kind of keeping devs informed on what's where and what's going on. Alright, well, we're pretty much to the end of the questions here, so I think what I'm going to do now is invite some people from the audience to come up and speak with me. So if you want to talk to me directly and discuss some stuff, you can go ahead and raise your hand now, and you can become a speaker. Okay, well, no one's come up yet. I'll give it a couple more minutes.
You got Sam that wants to come up.
Oh, okay.
Alright, I just wanted to make a very minor announcement. I've started working on the brand new art guide, and that should be out next week, hopefully.
Oh, that's fantastic.
All I wanted to say.
Okay. Alright, well, if anyone else wants to come up, you're free to. Just raise your hand.
I will also say that I haven't, like, so I made sure, the property cat, like, my time to, like, take a look around and make sure I'm updated, but, the past few days I've not really had enough time to really break away and do a whole bunch of, in-depth stuff, because I'm, part of a competition right now, so I've been devoting a lot of my free time either to that or to unwinding, but I will say that after competition's over, and after I take my trip, I want to look into. I've actually said this in the text chat. I want to look into like community events to do. So again, as I said before, if anyone has an idea, I would love to hear it because I'm trying to figure out what to do. It's kind of hard though to try to figure out an event where everyone can participate. Like we're gonna have free shot. Like, cause I mean, like, sure, like an art event, having an art competition is great, but not everyone is great at making art. I mean, like you can, everyone can make art, but not everyone, it's not everyone's thing. So I kind of want to find a more inclusive event. So if you guys have any ideas, just let me know.
Alright, well, that sounds good. Let's see here. Alright, well, it doesn't seem like anyone else wants to come up and speak. That's fine. There are a couple more questions here. I think I'll answer those and then probably wrap up the stream. I'm not feeling like a super long stream today. It's been about half an hour. Oh, okay, we've got one person. Hi.
What's your notable for the lobby? Will you be enabling private lobbies at any point?
Sorry, you're really quiet. No, actually, you're muted. I'm hearing you through someone else.
Will you
Okay.
be enabling private lobbies at any point?
Private lobbies. Well, let's see. Yeah, I actually have a number of plans for that. So the first thing, and I've talked about this before, but essentially finding a way to run the game server actually within the browser, which would take some of the load off of the actual game servers, the main game servers, because the browser itself would be doing essentially all of the heavy lifting. And that could allow for some smaller private lobbies, but there's obviously limitations to how many players the server running in the browser could actually handle. So the second part to this plan would be essentially a subscription service where you could pay us a small amount of money per month, and in exchange you get access to your own private server actually running on our servers on sort of dedicated hardware, so it would be able to handle more players than one of those servers running in the browser. But these browser-based servers would be great for things like 1v1s where there isn't necessarily that much load on the server, so the browser shouldn't have too much trouble with that. Okay, I'll do some more questions here from the chat. Jeffy asks, will you try to get more devs or designers in the future? So, okay, let me think about this one. Yeah, I do want to put out an announcement asking for more devs and designers. For all I know, there might be a number of you out there who might have the skills or might want to contribute but haven't stepped up for whatever reason. So I do want to do an announcement to sort of make it clear that we are looking for more people. But to be clear, we do actually have a number of people still working on the game despite all the departures. We have, how many people here? Yeah, 24 people in the development server. And those are all people who actually actively or somewhat actively work on the game. Yeah, despite that, we do have, I wouldn't say a shortage, but our devs aren't exactly constantly active. And in terms of people actually contributing sort of major content to the game, I'm one of the only people actually actively doing that. Okay, and from Really Hyper, why did you make the gun icon bigger? So they're referring to the weapon icon in the inventory, which I made bigger because I wanted to better showcase the gun art done by our wonderful artists. Because, you know, when the gun's sitting there on the ground, you can't exactly see the details especially well. And even before, when it was in the inventory, it wasn't much bigger. But now that it's kind of more sideways, it was rotated by 15 degrees, you can see the details a lot better, which I like quite a lot. Alright, well, I think I'm going to do one last call for people to come up and speak. So if you do want to come up here and speak with me, yeah, now is your last chance for this stream, so just go ahead and raise your hand. Give it a couple minutes, I guess, and then we'll wrap up the stream. Okay, well, it seems like nobody else really has any questions or wants to come up to speak, so I think I'll go ahead and, well, that's a wrap, I suppose. So, yeah, thank you all for coming. Yeah, good turnout today. Over a dozen people showed up. It's good to see. Yeah, I appreciate all of you for coming. It's good to have you. And yeah, I'll call it there. And I will see you guys next month, or possibly sooner if we do some sort of event. So, yeah, so long, y'all.